If you're a diehard Browns fan and love breaking down the game like we do, hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell so you never miss a blitz. The Cleveland Browns entered this offseason with a glaring need for a new quarterback, and as the dust settled on the draft, it became clear they weren't just looking for one. They went all in, selecting not one, not two, but 4 quarterbacks. While the decision to bolster their QB room was understandable given their struggles at the position in recent years, their approach raised eyebrows across the league. The Browns' quarterback situation has been a revolving door for far too long, with inconsistency and instability plaguing the team. It was clear that a solution needed to be found, but perhaps their strategy of bringing in so many quarterbacks could end up being more of a problem than a solution. Among the new faces in Cleveland was Joe Flacco, who, while a former Super Bowl MVP, is far from a long-term answer. Flacco, now in the twilight of his career, was clearly signed to provide veteran experience and mentorship. His role is unlikely to extend beyond the short term. With Flacco in the fold, the Browns still found themselves looking for a younger quarterback who could potentially lead the franchise for years to come. Enter Kenny Pickett, who many saw as a promising option to develop. The Browns appeared high on Pickett, with many thinking he could be their future. However, the problem is that Pickett is still young and unproven, and his ceiling remains somewhat uncertain. In an even more surprising move, the Browns decided to draft Dillon Gabriel in the 3rd round. For some analysts, Gabriel was considered a bit of a reach at that point in the draft. The talented quarterback from UCF showed flashes of brilliance in college, but there were still questions about his ability to translate that success to the NFL. The selection of Gabriel was puzzling, especially considering the Browns' already loaded quarterback room. What made it even more confusing was the decision to trade up and secure Shedeur Sanders in the 5th round, a move that many considered to be a great value, but also one that complicated the situation further. Sanders, the standout QB from Jackson State, was undoubtedly one of the draft's intriguing prospects. On paper, getting him in the 5th round seemed like a steal. However, as Josh Edwards from CBS Sports pointed out, the fit wasn't ideal for the Browns. Cleveland had previously traded out of a potential pick that would have seen them select two-way star Travis Hunter from Colorado, a player who could have helped the team in a much broader capacity. Instead, they opted to trade for a future 1st-round pick, seemingly signaling their intention to draft a quarterback of the future next year, when the class is expected to be loaded with talent. This decision raised many questions about the direction the franchise was heading in, and it made the Sanders pick feel even more puzzling. The real concern is the overall vision for the quarterback position. While it's true that acquiring Sanders was a great value at that point in the draft, the long-term strategy remains unclear. It appears the Browns are hedging their bets on next year's quarterback class, but what happens to the current crop of quarterbacks they've invested in? If they're committed to developing Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders, will they really bring in another high draft pick in the 2024 draft? This raises legitimate questions about the team's ability to manage multiple rookie quarterbacks and balance their development over the next few seasons. Furthermore, the idea of adding a top-tier quarterback prospect next season creates a complicated situation. The Browns would have to determine how to divide training camp reps and how to foster competition without causing unnecessary friction. It's not every day that a team is forced to juggle multiple first-year quarterbacks, and doing so could lead to some awkward situations in the locker room and on the practice field. The potential for confusion and mismanagement of reps is real, and it may take a delicate touch to make sure all of these quarterbacks have a legitimate chance to prove themselves. At the same time, it's worth noting that even though Sanders might not be ready to start immediately, the value of drafting him at such a late stage in the draft is undeniable. He brings a unique skill set to the table, and the Browns didn't have to give up much to take a chance on him. There's also the possibility that Sanders could be humbled by the draft process, as he slid much further than expected, and this could fuel a strong desire to prove himself. In that sense, it was a low-risk, potentially high-reward move, but it didn't come without its risks and complications. With 4 quarterbacks now on the roster, it's clear that the Browns will have some tough decisions to make. One of these quarterbacks is almost certainly not going to make the roster, especially when you consider the need to carry backups at other positions. If all 4 quarterbacks do somehow manage to survive training camp, the team will face an even tougher challenge in terms of allocating reps and keeping all of them engaged and competitive. The Browns will need to carefully balance development and competition, ensuring that they don't waste any of the valuable time these quarterbacks will need to grow and improve. The question now becomes, who is the long-term answer for the Browns at quarterback? It's unlikely that Joe Flacco will be the future, and while Kenny Pickett offers some hope, his upside is still uncertain. Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders have potential, but they both come with questions about their ability to succeed in the NFL. Adding another first-round quarterback in 2024 could mean the Browns are hitting the reset button once again, leading to a never-ending cycle of uncertainty. At some point, the franchise needs to settle on a signal caller and build around them, but whether or not this current crop of quarterbacks is the solution remains to be seen. In the end, while the Cleveland Browns made some interesting moves in the draft, their quarterback situation remains one of the most intriguing and complicated in the league. With 4 quarterbacks on the roster and more potentially on the way, the team will need to figure out how to manage this situation effectively. Whether or not they've found their franchise QB in this draft class remains to be seen, but one thing is clear. The pressure is on to make the right choice, and fast. The Browns can't afford to waste another season in search of a solution that may never come. Enjoying the content so far? Smash that like button and drop your take in the comments. We want to hear what you think about the Browns this season. In an unprecedented revelation that has taken the sports world by storm, NFL referee Bill Vinovich has broken his silence and confessed to one of the most controversial moments in recent football history. For years, the Cleveland Browns and their fan base have cried foul over what they believed was a game-altering call during a pivotal matchup, but no one expected the man responsible to come forward and admit that it wasn't just a mistake. It was a deliberate act. In an exclusive interview with a well-known sports journalist, Vinovich confessed that he was forced to make the game-changing call that helped secure a victory for the opposing team, a decision that left the Browns fans fuming and their playoff hopes dashed. "I didn't want to do it. I didn't have a choice," Vinovich said in the interview, which aired on a popular sports network. His words have sent shockwaves through the NFL community, raising questions not only about the integrity of the refereeing system, but also about the unseen forces that may be influencing some of the most critical decisions in the game. The confession revolves around an infamous moment in an NFL game that occurred several seasons ago. The Browns, who have long been plagued by misfortune, appeared to be on the verge of an upset victory over a heavily favored opponent. With the game on the line, a controversial penalty was called on Cleveland, leading to a series of events that ultimately resulted in their defeat. Browns fans were furious, accusing the referees of bias, poor judgment, and, in some extreme cases, corruption. But what many didn't know at the time was that Vinovich, who had been the lead referee in that game, was under immense pressure to make that call. "I was threatened," Vinovich admitted. "There were powerful figures, outside of the NFL, who made it clear that if I didn't make that call, there would be severe consequences." He refused to go into detail about the identity of these figures or the nature of the threats, but his tone and body language during the interview suggested that he was not taking this confession lightly. For years, the controversy surrounding that game had simmered, with many speculating about the true motives behind the refereeing decision. Now, it seemed, the truth was finally coming to light. Vinovich's confession has sparked a firestorm of reactions from fans, analysts, and former players. The Browns, still reeling from the defeat, have issued a statement expressing their shock and disappointment at the revelation. While we appreciate Bill Vinovich coming forward, the damage has already been done. This was not just a bad call. It was a travesty that affected the outcome of our season, a spokesperson for the team said. "We will be seeking further clarification from the NFL regarding the integrity of their officiating processes." NFL officials, for their part, have been quick to respond, though they have been careful not to offer too many details. A spokesperson for the league stated, "We take these allegations very seriously. Bill Vinovich's statements will be thoroughly reviewed, and we will ensure that the integrity of the game is upheld." However, the league's initial response has done little to calm the growing storm surrounding the incident. Fans, especially those in Cleveland, are demanding answers and calling for more transparency from the NFL on how such a scandal could have been allowed to unfold in the first place. The story has also raised new questions about the pressure and influence that officials might face in high-stakes games. Refereeing in the NFL is not just a job. It's a responsibility that carries significant weight. Officials are under intense scrutiny with every decision they make, and a single controversial call can have far-reaching implications. But according to Vinovich, what transpired during that game was unlike anything he had ever experienced in his long career. It was like something out of a movie. "I've never felt more alone and vulnerable," he said, describing the pressure he was under. As the public discourse surrounding Vinovich's confession continues to unfold, many are now looking for answers about what exactly happened behind the scenes. Was this an isolated incident, or is there a broader problem with officiating in the NFL? And if powerful external forces were indeed involved, as Vinovich suggests, who stands to benefit from manipulating the outcomes of games? Some have pointed to the increasing amount of money and television contracts surrounding the NFL as a possible factor. As the sport continues to grow in popularity and its influence spreads globally, the stakes have never been higher. With billions of dollars on the line, could there be individuals or entities trying to influence the results of games for financial gain? It's a question that is now at the forefront of discussions surrounding Vinovich's confession, and one that many believe needs to be addressed by the NFL. On social media, the response has been swift and divided. Browns fans are united in their anger, with many taking to Twitter and other platforms to express their frustration and demand justice. "This is why we'll never win. The league is rigged," one tweet read, while another stated, "Cleveland deserves better than this. We've been screwed over too many times." Others, however, have taken a more skeptical view of Vinovich's admission. "Why wait so long to come forward? This sounds like an excuse," one person wrote. "If he really was forced to make that call, why didn't he speak up earlier?" These varying opinions highlight just how polarizing this confession has become and how difficult it is for fans to come to terms with what has been revealed. What happens next for Bill Vinovich remains uncertain. Some believe that the NFL will have no choice but to suspend or even fire him, while others argue that he should be lauded for his bravery in coming forward. For now, Vinovich has remained largely silent on his future within the league, but the impact of his confession will likely be felt for years to come. His career, once one of the most respected in officiating circles, now stands in jeopardy, and the fallout from his revelation is far from over. As for the Cleveland Browns, the pain of that fateful game still lingers. The team's fanbase has been through so much in recent years, from near misses in the playoffs to disappointing seasons, and now they have to reckon with the idea that their team was robbed not just by poor officiating, but by external forces that shaped the outcome of the game. Will they ever get the justice they deserve? Only time will tell. But one thing is clear: the world of NFL officiating will never be the same after this stunning confession. Thanks for riding with us on another Browns Blitz. If you liked the video, share it with a fellow fan, hit subscribe, and ring that bell so you're always part of the Dawg Pound conversation. Go Browns!